It's a sensational early spring day. The wattles are out, so I think it's time to visit somewhere special. So this place we're going to is a special place for me because I spent the first 15 months of my life there, about an hour's drive from Canberra, in the Tidbinbilla Nature Reserve. So we just have to make a quick stop to purchase something that is very important for the day. Quite a zigzag of roads. The look of the roads change a lot depending on the size of the trees. After the bushfires, when there was no trees, I had trouble working out which roads to take, because I remember as a kid all these roads had huge pine trees mainly all throughout. See, this bit of road almost seems like the driveway. Swamp wallaby. Now from memory, this is so much more overgrown than it was. I remember my first Land Rover, my Series 3, I drove up that. Very hard to portray steepness in video. This is the track that I drove my old Land Rover up before it was overgrown. You can just see the remains of, well, it wasn't quite that rutted, but it's hardly even recognisable now. I think I'm going to give it a miss today because we're almost there. As long as I don't fall over. Okay, we're getting close now. A couple more corners and we'll reach the top gate. Looks like I'm going to have to walk. So apparently, near the gate here, 20 metres down, there's a post which marks the corner of the old koala reserve. And I can see, about 20 metres down, I can see a fence. You can just make out the mesh fence there. So now the question is, can I get through the bush to get down there? can give it a go. Bloody big rock here. I might be able to see things better from. I can see even less up here than from the road. It's a pretty nice view of the valley down below. So that's I think in the distance there, that's the Tidbinbilla Visitor Centre, right in the distance. Okay, so I've come down the hill a bit with some difficulty, and I've just seen in amongst all the scrub, just seen some fencing mesh and a star picket. God, it's getting harder to get through here. It's getting really scrubby. I reckon I'm pretty close to where the old fence used to be though. Oh, there's a star picket here. Yeah, so this is about 20 metres down from the main gate. 20, 30, probably a bit more actually, I reckon, 30 metres. So the story of all this fencing is, it was part of a koala reserve to protect koalas back in, it was set up back in 1936. Seems quite amazing that early such conservation activities were being carried out. Now I've got to get back up the hill through the scrub. Okay, back up on the road. Let's head to Nil Desperandum. Once you cross the creek, you're pretty much there. Usually though, it opens up and you can see where you're going, but so many more trees than there used to be. So this is the kitchen slash living room slash dining room slash pretty much the main room of the house where everything happened. Cook on the old Canberra stove. You'd have to have it going pretty much all the time because it would probably take 3 or 4 hours to get enough temperature into it to be able to cook anything. Fancy kitchen. I think Kath Gilmore put this in the 50s. It's very nice and cool in here, which is great in summer. Quite cool in winter though, so yeah, you do have to get the fire going. So this is what they call a pies house. Rammed earth walls. So they put boards, you can actually see where they've screwed them together each side of the wall to make sort of a mould, and then ram earth into them to compact it down, and then it's lime washed So this was badly burnt in the 2003 Canberra bushfires, so ironically it's never looked so good after that because it was totally rebuilt. So it looks different to what I remember it, but different in that it's actually a lot cleaner and much more well maintained. Alright, well let's go through the storeroom. Dark storeroom. There's no electricity here. And I think it's time for lunch on the deck. Wow, gotta say, this deck has never been in this good a condition in its whole life. I remember you'd sit out here and you'd have to watch where you went because there were so many rotten boards and broken boards. You had to be quite careful. Time for a sandwich. Back in 1892, this little place was built by two local farmers, George Green and George Hatfield, for an Irish poet called Henry Gilman. He was an interesting character and was referred to as the eccentric Baird of Tidbinbilla. Gilman was not a fan of gates and fences and went about removing them around the area. Unsurprisingly, this was of much annoyance to his neighbours, which caused quite a conflict between them. One such conflict was with a neighbour residing at Lanyon. Andrew Cunningham and two of his mates bailed up Gilman whilst he was removing what he called an illegal public gate. An angry Cunningham stated that, "I'll teach you to interfere with my gate. I'll give you a doing. I'll put you in the creek." Gilman took Cunningham to court in Queanbeyan after the incident, stating that Cunningham threatened him and held his horse's reins, preventing him from leaving, but the case was dismissed without costs. Some of Gilman's poetry was apparently on the walls of Neil. He also grew snapdragons, which he sometimes gave to George Green's wife, Alice. Gilman returned to Ireland in the early 1900s, and Nil Desperandum was then used by workers from the Tidbinbilla homestead. In 1931, the Blewett family moved in with 5 of their 7 children. During the 1940s, the Eucalypt distillery was running nearby. At the end of the 40s, Eric Blewett died after being thrown off his horse, so his wife Elsie sold Nil Desperandum to the Gilmores in 1950. The Gilmores used the property as a hobby farm and kindly let my parents stay there between 1972 and 1975 while they saved money to build a house in Canberra. After we moved out, Kath Gilmore's son Philip moved in, and then my auntie Isabel took over as caretaker in 1988, when it was acquired by the government. Most of my memories come from the subsequent visits and family stories. It was, and still is, a favourite place to come back to. So I think we should have a bit more of a look around. So this front garden area is heaps cleaner than it was. I guess it's a lot of the original trees have burnt down. There's a huge tree here that gave great shade and used to sit out under there. The old toilet over here, it was obviously originally housed. My dad used to leave his gun in there, go to the toilet, and then he'd push the slat out of one of the walls in the toilet, and he used to shoot rabbits down. It's a lot more overgrown now, but you could see down to the little opening area near the rocks there. This front entrance is a little different now. There was at some stage this end was enclosed and as a sort of a bathroom shower area, which was no fancy thing. It was basically just a bucket on a rope that you filled up with a bit of hot water and you just tipped on you as you cleaned yourself. This room here was the master bedroom. Looks a bit different now. Stretchers in here for when people want to stay. There used to be Big double bed there, and a fireplace that hasn't been used for a long time. This was my sister's room, I think, and I think it's locked. There was, I think, a bunk in there, and I think that's where my sister slept. And then we've got the main kitchen living area. Used to have, my dad rigged up a 12-volt lighting system. I think he just used car headlights or something, with a 12-volt car battery. So to provide lighting, and also had would have had kerosene lights sitting up on the mantelpiece and on the table. And this room here, the storeroom, used to have a really old fridge there. No electricity, but old fridges were so well insulated you didn't need to turn it on, and it's quite cool in here anyway. There was all sorts of bits and pieces along the back wall here. So another missing thing, this bit here was also enclosed at some stage, and it was a workshop, all the tools, and it was one of my favourite places because there was all sorts of interesting things in there. So this is our old swimming pool. Unfortunately, after a big fire or a storm, it tends to just fill up. So there's not a lot of water in at the moment. So this is Hurdle Creek. Also, it wasn't heated, and you had to be quite brave. Even in the middle of summer, in 40-degree days, it was quite cool. The naughty blackberry. This whole area was just covered in blackberries. Looks totally different now without all the blackberries. You can still see the remnants of some trying to come back. And up above the swimming pool is the camellia garden. Sort of an unexpected thing to find in the natural bushland, a camellia patch. This was planted in the late 70s after we left by Philip Gilmore. A fair few of them were lost in the bushfires, I think. Alright, one last thing to look at before we start the walk back. This is the remains of the old eucalyptus leaf distillery. All the Czechoslovakians set up in the 1940s. And the Bluets were living at Nildesperandum. Apparently they lived in a little hut just the other side of Hurdle Creek, and they used to get together and socialise with the Bluets every weekend and have a good time. Apparently there was this whole area, heaps of eucalypt distilleries through Tibimbilla. It was really quite a useful resource, or a used resource back then. Okay, well, we had a bit of a look around Nildesperandum, one of my favourite places. It's getting later in the day though, so time to walk back to the car. It's probably a 40-minute walk. It's a nice walk though on the road. Might be time for a cup of coffee. There's no custard tarts today, but quite likely there's going to be a little bit of a treat for us back at the car. Well, a treat for me. Alright, let's do the walk. What are you doing back there? Bit of an angle here. Well, I don't know what sort of bakery doesn't sell custard tarts. It's ridiculous. So let's go for an apple and custard Danish, is it? Anyway, I'll survive somehow. Oh yeah. Okay, good day. Time to head home. Thanks for coming along.